Hey everyone, Reaper here again with another video. The filming of this video is when our state, New Jersey, is in lockdown due to the coronavirus. So when I actually release this video, I'm not sure. Hopefully things will be better, but who knows. But anyway, so it's given me enough time to make a bunch of videos back to back. So for this video, I just wanted to talk, not too much, about some unusual collectibles that we would like to add to our collection. I mean, they're comic book related, okay? It's not like, well, I want to get like a cavalry sword or whatever, whatever it is. But other things that are comic book related, book related, and so forth. That, you typically don't see people show on videos, whether they're talking about certain interest, or comic book hauls or whatever, stuff that I would eventually like to add to my collection. I don't know when, but something that I would really like to have. So the two things, there's many things, but for the purposes of this video, the two things that I would like to add to my collection, I'll talk about each of them separately at some length, but they both come from Weird Tales. That pulp magazine that came out. I forget when it started coming out. I think it started coming out in the early 20s, I think. Either early or mid-20s, and it ran for many decades. But both of the books that I would like to add to my collection that are, comic book related, but not comic books, are from the Weird Tales line. The first one is from February 1928. And for anybody that knows what I'm talking about, that's been a fan of this, it is The Call of Cthulhu by H.P. Lovecraft. I'm fascinated with the Cthulhu. I'm still trying to learn more and more about it, but, well, according to Lovecraft, the more you try to learn about the Cthulhu, you start to go insane, and so forth. But anyway, I think the Call of Cthulhu, or the Cthulhu mythos, which originated in that particular issue, the February 1928 issue from H.P. Lovecraft, I think is phenomenal. And a lot of modern-day artists from the past, were inspired by the Cthulhu. In particular, I think one of the major people in the comic book industry that has been deeply influenced by the Cthulhu and has written on the Cthulhu mythos is Neil Gaiman. Now, before I continue with it, what is the correct way to pronounce it? Is it Cthulhu or Cthulhu? I don't know. I'm thinking it's Cthulhu. I thought I heard somewhere it's pronounced that way, but it could very well be Cthulhu. But I'll just continue to call it Cthulhu until I find out exactly which is correct. But anyway, in brief, the Cthulhu mythos surrounds the great old ones, creatures that are considered gods that have come to Earth and all that stuff. It's a little strange, it's a little weird, and the Cthulhu, there's many others named that I'm not going to go over. I think he was imprisoned in the ocean, not far from Boston, if I'm not mistaken. And when you try to learn about it, it's just that Lovecraft had this idea that humans could not possibly understand everything, all these things. We as people, we try to figure out why things happen the way they do. We try to figure things out. That's human nature. We also have a nature to blame one another when we can't figure out things, especially crises like the coronavirus and all that. But anyway, Lovecraft, when it comes to the Cthulhu, and I even think in his personal life, believed that humans couldn't possibly grasp what the Cthulhu was, what the old gods were, the great old ones or whatever. And trying to do that, trying to wrap your head around it, would literally make you insane. And that's what would happen. I really recommend you get H.P. Lovecraft collected works with the Call of Cthulhu and other Cthulhu stories in it, because they are really creepy, really dark. A lot of, it has that like dirtiness, like you read it and you could just feel that the environments that the characters are going in are old and dingy and dirty. It really creates a great mood and atmosphere. And one of the things that I liked so much about Lovecraft was he had his own little circle of his contemporaries. And one of them I'm going to talk about in a moment, but several others, some I never heard of, some I don't know anything about. But I believe one of them was Robert Bloch, who wrote Psycho. So that I found that always really cool to learn about those sort of things, that here in America we had something like what J.R.R. Tolkien had in England at the time. He had the Inklings, and a lot of them I don't know. But the most notable one, other than Tolkien, was that I can remember is that I know of rather is C.S. Lewis. But they had their own little group where they would read each other's stuff. They would, build on ideas from one another and put it in their works. And I just find that fascinating, because I always remember hearing about Tolkien's group, the Inklings. But I was wondering, well, don't we have anything like that here in the States? Why should they have all the fun in England? But we did. We did, with H.P. Lovecraft, Robert Bloch, several others, and Robert E. Howard. Who is that? Who's Robert E. Howard? He's the one that created Conan, the next book I would like. I said I would like to have Weird Tales from February 1928, the Cthulhu, but I would also like to have the October 1932 issue that featured the first appearance of Conan, and the story was The Phoenix in the Sword. Okay? I like Conan. I've known about Conan ever since I was little. I watched the movies with Arnold Schwarzenegger. The first one I saw was Conan the Destroyer. And I didn't see Conan the Barbarian until maybe about, almost 20 years ago, maybe 18, 17 years ago. And my friend was like, oh, you didn't see that one? He says, oh man, you saw the Destroyer? That was the worst one. I mean, of the two. Not counting the remake that came out with Jason Momoa in 2009. He's like, oh no, you got to see the first one. That's where they try to treat it as if it's serious. The Destroyer was kind of like, slapsticky, like comic book. I'm like, well, yeah, that's why I liked it. I saw Conan the Barbarian. That was good. It was a really good movie. But I don't like it as much as Conan the Destroyer. But anyway, the point is, I've known about Conan for many, many years. I know Conan came after Kull. Howard also created Kull of Atlantis. I forget. I think that was in the late 20s. I don't remember that one. That would be the third one I would like to get. But I really enjoy these creations, these characters, and comic books have definitely been influenced by them. What I was mentioning earlier with Neil Gaiman, and of course Conan, right? Conan's had has been in something since the early 70s, and he's inspired people like Frank Frazetta and other artists. Conan inspired He-Man and Masters of the Universe. The gentleman that created Skeletor, I forget his name. He was the one that did all the artwork for them. Fantastic artist. I forget his name. I'm sorry. But the point is, it inspired so many people, so many things that we may have grown up with, whether it was comic books, action figures, cartoon series, TV shows, whatever. And really, I think he laid the groundwork for that sword and sorcery type story. Tolkien, on the other hand, I think he was more of the high fantasy. He inspired, I think, things like Dungeons and Dragons, and of course many other things down the line, of course. But I think it was Conan that really influenced those sword and sorcery stories more than Tolkien. So yes, those would be the two books that I would love to add to my collection one day, that even they are comic book related, but they're not comic books, but have influenced so many people in this hobby that we love, from artists to writers and to people outside the hobby as well, have done such a remarkable job carrying on the legacy of both these authors, H.P. Lovecraft and Robert Howard. So thank you for watching. What are some of the other things that you would like to have in your collection that may have influenced comic books and the things that you grew up with, but are just not comic books? Be interested in reading and learning about them. Thanks for watching.